Make Your Peace podcast is the Wynonna Earp fan podcast that digs deep into every episode, not only providing comprehensive recaps, but also delving into character relationships and motivations. Hosts Catherine and Laura take their time exploring all of the nooks and crannies of each action-packed episode, puzzling over and speculating on moments you may have missed. If you enjoy a good discussion of your favorite sci-fi show, then this podcast is definitely for you. You can find Make Your Peace podcast on Twitter at 4YE_MYP podcast, where you will find links to their latest episodes. Make Your Peace podcast. Dig a little deeper.
Hey everyone, welcome to Make Your Peace, a 4YE podcast about Wynonna Earp. I'm Catherine Meushaw.
And I'm Lara Hayes.
And today we'll be discussing Season 3, Episode 3, Colder Weather. And just a couple of notes, as per usual. Before we get into it, I want to say a quick thank you to all of our listeners for feedback and for sharing and all that jazz. We really appreciate it, especially after, our lengthy discussion last episode, which was a very important one. Also, once again, you will notice that we have a nifty commercial in the beginning of the episode, so that is courtesy of the folks over at Earp Fiction Addiction, a podcast that discusses Wynonna Earp fanfic. So it's a fun podcast. You should go check it out. And also, if you haven't noticed, my recap's up. It was up a few days ago, so you can check that out. It's been retweeted on the Make Your Peace Twitter. I think that's all my special notesy things, because sometimes I forget. So with that, what was this episode?
The recap for this episode, the team must come to terms with the consequences of their actions. Meanwhile, someone claiming to be from Black Badge arrives in Purgatory.
I like how they put that claiming to be from Black Badge in their thing.
Yeah.
I mean, dude has a black star on his hand. Feels to me like that's pretty clear. But I know you got something about that title.
I do. Well, when I first saw the title, I just kept singing, Billie Holiday's, Stormy Weather in my head, so I didn't get much farther than that. But the title for this, then I was stuck. The title for this week's episode comes from the Zac Brown Band song of the same name.
Alrighty. Thank you. So, this week was kind of a plot light, because it really focused on the team dealing with, kind of going through different stages of grief and loss and everything. We did get some good information, but where do you want to start?
Let's start with the intro. I think the slowed down intro at the start of the episode was really beautiful. The only thing that I wish was different is that I wish we'd gotten more of it, honestly.
I saw somewhere that slowed down Tell That Devil will be on iTunes. They want to get that on iTunes somewhere. But
good, I think they should. I think it was really nice.
But we're going to have to wait till we're further into the season, from what I understand.
Gotcha.
So I'm not sure what that means. But yeah, I mean, I think it was, all we know now is that it's not going to be up yet, but it will maybe be up at some point. So. All right. Cool. Yeah, it's such a good version. Yeah, that was actually one of my first notes for because of how I organize them. I wanted to mention that because I enjoyed that too. It was just because I don't always pay attention. I'll listen to the credits and, not gonna lie, I sing along to it, but I don't always.
It's a catchy intro.
I know. I don't always I don't watch them. So it was that really, the second it started, I was like, oh damn, they're really going all in with setting this tone.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and as per usual, they did a really great job with just the music in general. It balanced really well, with the tone and getting those nice quiet moments and everything, so. And now that I actually have it handy for the first time, the music supervisor, Andrea Higgins, is responsible for all of the wonderful, for pulling some of that stuff together. So definitely props to her as per usual. I know we always give props to the music, but I never have her name handy.
Good job.
Yes. But no, I agree. Also of note, I literally 3 times I watched this episode. I watched it when it aired and then I rewatched twice. Straight up missed Kat Burrell in the credits both times I rewatched and on my initial
watch. Wow, really?
I don't watch the credits.
No, yeah, I gotcha, yeah.
I'm always looking at my computer. And even when I knew
Yeah.
it, which is kind of cool, although I don't love the people, like, who are, it's the same as stuff like last week when the news, like, when it first happened, when Dolls died, a lot of people were like, well, maybe Kat will be in the credits now, which is just kind of a tasteless way to handle that. So it's nice that she's there, but, like, it's nice to keep in mind that, they did lose a cast member. Right. He went off to go do different things, but still, it's like, it's not like she did replace somebody, so, like, I want to throw that in there. But yeah, it's cool that she's in there, and maybe at some point throughout the season, I'll remember to actually look. But I'm so far, not having much luck remembering to do it. It was such the opening in general, like that cold open was just, I really enjoyed that too.
Yeah.
Because, it was shot really nicely, and it was just, you knew what you were here for with how the episode opened. I thought it was really cool that in an episode that deals so heavily with how each member of the group grieves, it was a pretty bold choice to have the first shot of our heroine just drunk off her ass in the woods, screaming her head off, looking for a confrontation. Yeah. Although, to be fair, the first shot of her is her crying. To be fair. Yeah. But no, I gotcha. And even just her, kind of taking the swing at the Revenant and falling down and then just being like, I don't want any more death today. Yeah. Was just kind of a nice moment. Because, we've seen Wynonna deal with grief before. This is not a new thing for her, unfortunately. Right. And, it's just this one time is, and she mentions it in the episode, it's a real kick in the box. Yeah. She's so eloquent. That woman. Yeah, but we do get to see her, she's angry a lot of this episode. And she's avoiding a lot of the planning throughout this episode, too. Yeah, she's avoiding to the max. That is how she is dealing. And it felt very in character. Like, there was nothing about Wynonna that felt, like, weirdly out of character for any of that throughout the episode. So, that's always nice. No, Yeah, I'm with you there. I really bought it for her, and I think Melanie really sold it. But to your point, it did feel like the Wynonna way to do it. Like, oh yeah, absolutely did. Yeah. Really, I think for the most part, they did get. You kind of got what you expected with these characters for the most part. Yeah, I think you're right about that too. I don't think anybody really shocked me. No. Waverly kind of had moments just because I thought she was an odd one to pluck out for, like, having the inappropriate affect to the extent that she did, Disagree. To the extent. I get it for a little bit, but I don't know. I know, you're not the only one to disagree with me on that one either. Yeah, I did really buy it for her. That whole, the whole now who's inappropriate conversation was one of the more authentic examples of grief for me personally. Mm-hmm. Not that Wynonna, drunk and looking for a fight isn't also valid and wasn't me back when I was still drinking, but, I really identify with how scattered Waverly was. She was against the wake at first, and then she jumped right on board, and she's got to make a lot of sandwiches. Sandwiches for everyone is something that she can do. Yeah. And then, she's just from one thing to the next, she can't. And then the giggling starts because she's having this conversation about something being, a reaction being inappropriate. And it's the last thing she wants to do, because it's completely inappropriate and random, but she just, she can't help it. And in my family, we call those the church giggles. My mom and I, no, seriously, my mom and I both have them, something awful. And the second I think, man, it would be really inappropriate to laugh right now, I start laughing and I can't stop. And if my mother is around me and I've started doing it, she can't quit. That's great. No,
and it's just this, yeah. And it's a nervous thing, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And it's also like a perception thing. Like, I'm worried at what people will think if I start like giggling and if I'm seen that way. And Waverly, more so than probably any member of the group, is very hung up on what people think of her.
Yeah.
And how she's perceived. So I think that more than anything else is why I bought it for her. She is kind of nervous, and she does get scattered, and she does care a whole lot about like what she's projecting to other people.
Yeah. No, I mean, I totally I'm not saying like inappropriate affect is 100% a thing. Like, it is 100% a thing that happens, and it's really awful and embarrassing when it does. You know, because when people are laughing at funerals and stuff like that. And it felt, like I said, it felt reasonable to a point. I don't know. There was just one part of it that I'm like, eh. But no, I mean, her having that giggle moment, and definitely her, getting stuck on, well, I have to make sandwiches, I want to feel useful, because it's like, that's what you want to do. Like, that is such a real thing to be like, I have to do something useful. I have to do something helpful. I gotta do something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that did feel, and just throughout the whole episode, we get snippets of Waverly's kind of, she's 21, 22. We get snippets of Waverly's, like, little, like, existential crisis stuff,
Yeah, we do.
So, I kind of like that, too, from Waverly, just her little snippets of that, because she's the youngest member of the group, too.
Yeah, exactly. And I really got the sense, like, while we're talking about, like, grieving and, like, how each character was grieving, I really got the sense, like, from Nicole, that she's just been through this, like, more than her fair share. And I think, I'm kind of skipping a little bit here, but, like, she has that entire, Nicole has that entire conversation, like, with Wynonna, about how, it's like, it's not about you and everything. And I really feel like this, like this whole episode, other than that hotel room, like conversation that they had, or Doc's room conversation that they had, Dolls, sorry, geez, I'm doing it. Other than the conversation that Waverly and Nicole had in Doll's room, I think Nicole was, an excellent example of someone who grieves by focusing outward. Like, I think that's something that Waverly was trying to do. But I do think that Waverly is very young, and I don't think that it really came across that way. I also think that that's not really Waverly's persona, but I think it's who she wants to be. Does that make sense? But I've always felt like Nicole was kind of a caretaker, and so to see her, like, step into that role, and to see her do so seamlessly exactly what Waverly was trying to do for everybody was really cool, in my opinion.
I really liked Nicole's support moments, Nicole's support role. I like that she got her own second degree of her own time. But yeah, that her having her, like, come to Jesus moment with Nicole telling Wynonna, like, hey, you aren't the only one who lost somebody. You don't get to be the only one hurting and stuff like that. I really appreciated that.
It was also incredibly brave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think she can take a little extra anger headed her way, and I think that she was prepared for that if it came to it, and she was still just like, this needs to happen. Like, you can't act this way.
Yeah. I also really appreciated that she told Jeremy that he gets to say goodbye too.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I didn't love in this episode was introducing this random dude, Quinn, who was apparently part of Dolls' squad, the squadron. And the thing that was frustrating to me was, yeah, he knew Dolls. Yeah, he apparently had a hand in the BBD experiments to a point because he made sure Dolls came back. But it seemed like he replaced Jeremy in this grieving process, and that felt really not fair to Jeremy because Jeremy also had a longer relationship with Dolls than most of the people in that room.
Yeah, for a relationship that actually, in canon predates the series, it was sort of ridiculous that Jeremy wasn't given more screen time to openly grieve. It was also really telling that, like, Wynonna firing Jeremy didn't last, right? We can thank Nicole for calling her out on that, too. Thanks, yeah. Nicole. But it does speak to Wynonna's views on loyalty. Like, loyalty to Wynonna means being loyal to Wynonna.
Right.
And Jeremy makes the argument that he was being loyal. He was respecting Dawes' wishes. And it's completely right and true, right? But it doesn't cut it with Wynonna. And she spends most of the episode punishing him for not being loyal, as she sees it, to her.
Yeah.
And she was also striking out at him because he was a very easy target.
Yeah. And I mean, he even says that. And, like, it was surprising to hear him say that, too, because, Jeremy isn't usually one to lash out. We've seen it in the past couple episodes where he's kind of, like, I guess finding that confidence, especially, like, last episode he did it where he was, like, he kind of stood up for himself a little bit, like, with, and we are seeing that, I think, a little bit more, but, yeah, just, him talking back, because it's kind of, in a similar way to Nicole, it's like, there's a point where it's like, okay, you can't, like, Wynonna doesn't get to just stomp over everybody and not acknowledge that everybody else is grieving too.
Right.
So yeah, I was really frustrated that we didn't, the only time we got to see Jeremy grieve was at the end.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm wondering if maybe we'll see something later, like, I don't know, maybe it'll still be something, but I don't know, I doubt it. I think this pretty much closed the door on that for a lot of it, but yeah, that was one thing I was really disappointed about.
Yeah, me too. I think he was very, he was very close to Dawes. He's known him for a long time, and yeah, he should have been featured more heavily in this episode, especially instead of that Quinn guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like him. It felt very intrusive to have Quinn there.
Yeah, sure, yep.
And I didn't really like it. He's going to be back. I also don't trust him as a character. And I thought he and Wynonna had a really weird moment that made me really concerned that they were going to do something with him and Wynonna when he returns. Because, he's got to return in some capacity. I know, I'm sorry.
I really hope sending Agent Quinn in to storm the gates of Black Badge and destroy the blood contract isn't the last we hear of the blood contract. Like, it can be the last we hear of Quinn.
Yeah.
I would be fine with that. But if this is the last conversation we have about it, like, okay, he stops in town and he gets back on a bus and Wynonna's like, hey, go deal with those blood contracts for me. And he's like, gotcha.
Yeah.
And that's it? Like, I'm going to be really upset about that.
Yeah, I mean, we know BBD comes back in a big way. We've been told this for this season. Or a different way, in an interesting way or something. I forgot what it was. Not a big way, but it was an unexpected way. I don't believe that he's not BBD. I don't believe that he's gone forever. I think he'll come back. Because I'm betting Wynonna gets Dawes' dog tags back. I don't believe he's out of BBD. So, also, side note. BBD is supposed to be, like, kind of a secret thing. You don't really know who they are and stuff like that.
Right.
Why, if you worked for an agency like that, would you get a big old tattoo right on your damn hand of a black star for BBD?
Maybe he failed covert operations, like, twice and, like, had to repeat. I don't know.
It really bothered me.
Just guessing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't like him.
I didn't either.
I don't know.
And it's like, it's really frustrating getting... I just wanted to see the team kind of grieve on their own. And I just kind of... It's always really frustrating when a character dies and you get, like, an important piece of their history from, like, somebody else, an outside source. And it's a piece of history that, like, I don't know. It's just, it's really annoying because it's like when you have an underdeveloped character anyway, it's just, like, frustrating.
And that really frustrated me too. And it frustrated me in that, one, we weren't getting that information from dolls, and two, we were getting it from, like, kind of just like this random guy who, like, walked into town, so that was lame. But what really kind of bugged me about it was that it was sort of just a fleshing out of what we already knew or had surmised. You know, so there wasn't like how can I put this? So there wasn't like an aha moment, you know, or like a big payoff. So it just felt like, okay, you know, like, that's cool. And like, the one scene that I did like with Quinn was him telling Wynonna that he says the name of every man in his squad before bed every night, because he's the last one. Mm-hmm. And she remarks, "Job's hard enough, why torture yourself?" as she, like, downs another whiskey. And if that's not the embodiment of, like, practice what you preach, I don't know what is. Because, like, Wynonna has ever cut herself a break for anything that has ever happened to anyone in her life. Ever.
I know.
So I thought that was kind of funny.
And I mean, that did come back around. She, you know, at the end, she lists off, you know, Fish, Levi, Shorty, Eliza, Willa, Ward, dolls.
Yep.
And I honestly kind of liked hearing Fish and Levi. I kind of liked hearing that she kind of keeps them with her, because they were kind of a notable pair of revenants for her. So I did appreciate hearing their names. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I kind of, his being there, kind of did give us some nice moments for the characters, but it was still kind of like, I was really happy to see him get on the damn bus.
Yeah. And I don't want to, like, I don't think that we got too much from Doc this episode. Like, we didn't see, he had that very nice moment with Wynonna when she was, like, out, like, practicing shooting or whatever, you know, and he walks up, and they had, like, a, you know, kind of a tender moment together. But for the most part, like, his grieving, he's very stoic, right? Like, and he's another person that you get has been through this a lot, and he knows that this is a part of life, and a part that maybe he doesn't like, but that he can't do anything about it. And more so, I think, than, like, it's similar to Nicole, but it's different in that he's not trying to do anything for anybody. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's there, and he's in it with them, but he's not necessarily, like, trying to fix things the way that she is, and his approach is a little angrier. And I think that kind of undercurrent of anger that we got to see in that brief conversation, or confrontation between Waverly and Doc, is this sort of bubbling up of, like, you know, the people he loves most in the world are hurting, and there's nothing he can do about it. So he's frustrated. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I liked the moments we got from Doc, because I think they were, again, very in character, I think we did get to see a good chunk of him grieving in his own way. You know, but he did have that responsibility, you know, he really wanted to take care of Wynonna. And I think, but I think in that first bar scene with him and Kate, he makes a comment about, like, what do I do? Like, how do I help? I think. Something like that. Like, I don't know what to do with it, like, to help Wynonna or something like that. I think he makes a comment. And I wish I had written that down better, but I did not.
That was a really cool scene for me, but on the Kate side, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, Kate was kind of a fun... Kate's interesting. But, no, I liked the scenes that Doc had with Wynonna. I really liked when she goes out to shoot the can, like, to practice shooting. You know, he comes up and he comforts her and just tries to, in his own way, you know, he makes her laugh a little bit, but he tells, you know, he shares his what he used to do, like his, you know, because everybody deals with death differently. Everybody has their own kind of little traditions surrounding death and grieving. And I liked that moment where he shares his and even gets a little bit of a laugh out of her. And, you know, they just have that really nice, tender moment. And I did like that. I liked that moment with Waverly. liked seeing him apologize to her. And then, like, having that moment where he's like, you know, I did a crappy thing, and I told Dolls he was going to hell. And I really enjoyed his relationship with Waverly. I've mentioned it before. I do too, really like Doc and Waverly's relationship. And I really kind of thought it was interesting, Kate's remark that Waverly and Wyatt are very similar. And that kind of maybe gives us another layer. Of course, Doc brushes it off with, she's not even an Earp, but I liked that, where it's like, okay, maybe that helps to explain why they have kind of that connection, because they kind of started like that. He was like, they've had that kind of nice little, that friendship. So I like that. I really liked that.
Yeah, I liked that a lot too. And you know, he wasn't even saying you're wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, no, she doesn't. Like, he said, she's not even an Earp, which is sort of not quite addressing what she said. You know what I mean? It's deflecting.
Yeah. Doc's good at that.
Isn't he?
Yeah, just a little bit. But I really, because I mean, Tim just acting that out, that moment, I'm coming back to that moment with Wynonna, where he's, you know, sometimes you get and sometimes you get got. That line, the way Tim delivers it was just like gut punch, you know, just how they all did such a great job. This episode was so good. And I mean, I do argue that, I would also argue that Doc and Kate at the end is also possibly a grief reaction as well. You know.
Yeah.
I like how hesitantly you agreed to that.
I agree that it could have been driven in large part by a need to be comforted. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or the need for a distraction. Yeah.
Or something known. There's a comfort in the known.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
I think a lot of it could also have to do with the points that she was making earlier at Shorty's, but yeah.
There's also, I mean, the Doc. We're gonna talk about a love triangle. That Doc, Wynonna, Dolls love triangle. So yeah, I mean, having Quinn be there to be like, oh, maybe he stayed for you, to Wynonna, and then Doc's like, yeah, he did. Like, there's no doubt about it. It's like there's always such a like. I know you hate love. Like, the love triangle is just so frustrating. So yeah, that's part of it too. It's like that puts them in a weird place even more with Wynonna, like him and Wynonna. So
yeah, and it's not okay. I feel like I've misrepresented myself a little bit, maybe. It's not that I hate love triangles. It's that I hate it when I feel like a show thinks that they have to have one all the time.
I'm sorry, I misrepresented, because I know that's your problem with it. So I'm sorry, I wasn't clear when I brought it up.
Yeah, it's not like I can't deal with one. You know what I mean? Like, there being, like, one love triangle. That's not really a problem for me, but, like, you know, Nicole's wife came in, and she, you know, there was, like, some tension there, and we've had this Doc and Dolls thing the entire series, and now, you know, we just lost Dolls, and now we've got Kate, and it's just, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't love that.
Well, because you can't bring in a person of color and not have them as part of a love triangle in this show, apparently.
I mean, they do all have that in common, and you're not wrong about that. And I don't love that either.
You know, I said that and had this moment of...
you root against them. You know what I mean? Like, when Nicole's wife came in, you know? It was like, oh, get out of here. And then, you know, now, like, with Kate, like, I'm sure that there are probably, you know, some, Doc and Wynonna shippers who are like, you know, oh, no, she's going to ruin everything, like, all this stuff. But, like, you know, so the second that she gets introduced, this is that, you know what I'm saying? I don't like that. It doesn't put her on, like, even footing.
No. But, you know, I said that, and then I had this moment of, I'm going to have to cut that. And then I'm like, no, I'm not going to cut it.
It's true. That's just true. They have all, So,
I'm not going to cut it. No. Yeah, no. It's gonna... Doc and Wynonna are already in a weird spot, and we've talked about it.
Yeah.
So, him going to Kate didn't seem unreasonable, and I don't necessarily think that it's going to be a thing where Wynonna's going to, like, pitch a fit about it.
Yeah, I don't either. And, like, that's probably why I wasn't going to mention it this episode, because I don't know where it's going to go. So that's also me acknowledging that I don't know how this is going to play out. I just think that it doesn't endear Kate to all people, you know, like introducing her this way, because, you know, you are going to have those, like, diehard shippers who are like, I just want my OGP to be together, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so, yeah, that's really more what I was talking about. And what you said is absolutely right. I don't know how this is going to shake out. Everybody could be really cool about it, and it could just not be a thing. And I would love that.
Yeah. I mean, Kate's kind of had a little bit of a rough introduction, I think, for some people. Because, I mean, you look at how she busted in. She's a vampire. She kidnapped Doc for a little bit. Kind of tortured him a little bit. So
who doesn't like to tie their exes up to stripper poles? Come on, you guys. Come on now.
I think that's a glimpse into your personal life I wasn't expecting.
Yeah. That's everybody's thing, right?
Sure.
Just bored on a Friday? Yeah.
I guess as long as you untie them afterwards, it's alright.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. I know, I'm gonna change topics now. Oops. Okay, so
yes, where's our great transition into another topic?
I don't have one, so I'm just gonna wedge this in here. Well, okay.
I'm keeping all of that, by the way.
I know you are. So while the whole like Nicole backstory thing, like we kind of touched on that a little bit earlier when we were talking about everybody grieving. Mm-hmm. And while I'm glad we got some backstory on Nicole, we did need it, right? I wish it wasn't in the middle of all this. Like, there's so much happening on a character level this episode, so I can see why that choice was made. I can see why it would be attractive to do that in this episode where it is so character focused. But I feel like in an episode where everyone is, like, grieving the loss of a beloved character, like, the tale of Nicole's miraculous survival doesn't really carry the gravity it might if it had been in an episode where we were just dealing with a baddie of the week. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what I think might have also been an interesting placement for that discussion?
What?
Because it was presented as part of her getting upset that, you know, like, and blaming herself because, you know, she wasn't there to help, basically, you know. She couldn't do anything. It might have been an interesting placement after they opened the envelope and after she found out that Dolls knew that he was going to die. It would have been interesting after that to kind of present another little, we can't kind of do like another little, like, we can't keep big secrets and stuff like something like that. That would have been an interesting with it.
Okay.
Not that, I mean, I think it did have decent placement. I'm just saying, like, that would have been a really interesting thing to do on that end. Mm-hmm. But, you know, like, grief brings out all kinds of different things for people. So
it does, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I totally get why the choice was made.
Yeah.
But I feel like it could. I feel like maybe I wanted it to have a little more time, like to breathe, kind of.
Yeah.
And to sort of stand on its own. And I think the thing that made it so tricky this episode was the thing that also made this episode an appealing choice to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because, I mean, you also, where it would have been handy as kind of a B-plot in a different episode. We didn't have... in a slower episode, or an episode that, you know, like I said, we were just kind of, you know, going after a baddie of the week or something. This could have been, like, a really big moment. You know what I mean? Like, not that it wasn't. Again, I feel like it lacked a little bit of, you know, like, gravitas, because we had so much happening and there was so much pain. Everybody was in pain.
You know what I mean? And, like, even Nicole, like, we see her stand up and say, like, today's not about you, and, like, shut down her own grief.
Yeah. I'd like to believe that we'll continue to see this. So, you know how they blow through a lot of big things in these episodes anyway. They'll give us a lot of information. So, there's a lot of reasons why it probably had to go here. So, like, I'm with you. But, like, let's be honest, too. This was probably the biggest opportunity that drop was going to get to be centered. You know? Like, just in general, like, I don't think if it was in a different episode with the Baddie of the Week, you know, I don't think that they would have even, it might have been cut, like, I don't know. I just feel like because they did get that nice moment on their own and stuff like that, and it just, I don't know, it did present like a nice little bubble for Nicole to give this information, and I don't see it having been really focused on like it should have if it was in a different episode, you know?
Yeah, I can see your point too. And yeah, I mean, I think you understand like where I'm coming from
I got
with this. Yeah, I won't. But I mean, we got some like really interesting like facts about her. Like she wasn't with her parents. She was with her aunt and uncle, right? And her parents were traveling again. And she made it sound like that was something that, you know, they did a lot of, but we don't know to where or for what reason. So hopefully we'll get a little bit more of that. But she also, I guess she was fed a cover story of a forest fire by her folks who probably didn't want her to remember what really happened. And, you know, she said that worked, but it didn't explain her nightmares. And then Waverly kind of gives us a little bit more to, like, sort of a glimpse into their life together, right? Where she's like, yeah, I've, you know, like, kind of like, yeah, you've woken me up a few times, like, with these nightmares. Like, this is something that Waverly has witnessed. This is something that Nicole struggles with. And I've seen a lot of stuff, you know, like, people speculating, like, because we know she was saved by somebody. She made it to the river and some good Samaritan saved her. And I've seen some hints that it was Bobo, and I've seen some people saying that it was Mama Earp, but personally, I really hope it was Sheriff Nedley.
That would be...
Wouldn't that be great?
So great. You know, it's funny, I haven't really... It's like, okay, so I get so focused on, like, sometimes I get so focused on, like, trying to get recaps out, I don't necessarily stop to theorize, and I had a busy enough weekend outside of what I was doing, like with Wynonna Earp stuff. So, like, I hadn't really sat down and really thought about, like, who I thought saved her, or who I'd, like to believe saved her, even. So I really like the idea of it being Nedley.
I do, too. And I think it would so explain, like, why he just took an immediate shine to her.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. I hope so.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily... Do we have... I know I'm asking the wrong person.
You are. I don't know what the question is, but I sense continuity.
It is. Do we know which, like, because they happen, like, every 7 years or so, but do we know, like, how long ago, like, how old Nicole was? Because she's about Wynonna's age, right? Like, she's definitely older than Waverly, but not by much. So she's, like, 25, 26, something like that, maybe. If she's not Wynonna's age, then she's somewhere in between them. Like, she's definitely not as young as Waverly. So, like, timeline-wise, I don't know if Michelle is a reasonable choice. I don't know. I have to, like, go back, because we might have some hint at timeline. Bobo would have been an interesting choice, but he would literally have no reason to do it.
Yeah. I just don't see why it would be him.
Because it seems like a good chunk of the Revenants probably wanted to just stay out of Bolshar stuff. It's like the cult stuff, maybe. I mean, it may be since Bolshar wasn't involved, it might be that they, you know, Bobo did like to get himself involved every so often. It's like, Bobo's kind of a weird situation anyway, because...
Bit of a wild card, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things to, you know, because of his whole history with that. So I don't know. I don't know if it doesn't feel like something that Bobo would necessarily do. He seems to he does a lot of things to help himself, and there's no reason for him to save a random kid.
Yeah, not that I can think of. And it's not like he would be doing it for Waverly, right? Like,
yeah,
because she didn't even know her yet. Yeah, so.
Right. So, I mean, I think Mama Earp is maybe a possibility, but I really, really like the idea of it being Nedley. Honestly, Juan Carlo is a possibility. He's not supposed to interfere, but that doesn't necessarily mean he doesn't. Or didn't, rather, because he's dead. But
true. And he could have just, I mean, he may not have known that Nicole would become such a player. You know what I mean? Like, could have just seemed like a good deed to, I'm hung up on Nedley, though. I think it would be so sweet.
I would get
so many
idea.
Feelings.
I really like that idea. I really do.
Cool. We're Team Nedley over here. Team Nedley saving Nicole.
Yeah.
No baby Nicole.
I don't know, and it was just also, like, present such a nice little thing. Because, Nedley, like, had to have, like, even though BBD was the one responsible for covering up these massacres, like, the police, like, Nedley and the whoever else was working had to have gotten there first.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like your theory.
Cool.
My long-winded stuff to just say, I like your theory, and I appreciate it.
Nice.
Yeah, because I really just didn't sit down and really think about it. But yeah, we did find out that, this isn't Nicole's first time in the Triangle, so...
Yeah.
And
Waverly... Oh, yeah.
I wonder if that maybe knowing that something was off, maybe... Because we still don't know what's up with Nicole and her parents, either. We don't know why she doesn't talk to them.
Yeah.
So maybe that's another layer to that as well.
Yeah, could be. Maybe they were gaslighting her.
Probably.
Yeah.
So what were you going to say? I'm sorry.
No, all good. I'm sorry. Waverly's, like, thought you were normal line was maybe, I know, we got to talk about it, was maybe the worst thing she could have said to the woman she loves immediately following a traumatizing story. So let's just deal with it. But, Waverly also struggles a bit with selfishness, in part, I'm sure, due to her age. She's also the baby of the family, even though she's largely ignored by their dad. But she also struggles with reconciling the world she creates in her mind to the world, or the world she wants to live in, with the world she actually lives in. And I think at its core, like, that's what that comment was really about. Like, Waverly... like, Waverly likes to know things, and she enjoys certainty, which is understandable. Like, so there's so much chaos in her life, Right. So when someone or something doesn't conform to her ideals, example, Doc's plan for the wake, right? She has a hard time, like, coming around or accepting that there's a different way to do things, or a different way to see things, or a different way to be.
I mean, we saw a lot of Waverly dealing with a loss of control. I don't remember if I said that already because I didn't clear my note, but I said something similar, so I don't remember. I don't know. I'm bad at clearing notes.
No, but that's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. Her spirals, we need to get along because this is what it is. Her talking about destiny. And, I mean, you're right, though. Her life is full of, oh God, the word's there, and I'm, like, trying to, dysfunction. Jesus. Her life is full of dysfunction. The dysfunctional family, a whole bunch of dysfunctional relationships. And yeah, she did. She looked at Nicole as something that wasn't dysfunctional. She looked at Nicole as some normal, grounding person. And then to find out that it's like, well, crap, I thought you were my shiny thing that wasn't broken.
And, that sort of speaks to her naivety, and it speaks to how she and the people around her, her family, process their trauma, right? Because the amazing thing is, this amazing woman that's standing in front of her is not broken. And she's not dysfunctional, like, she's high functioning, but she's been through this horrible stuff. And I think Waverly lacks examples of people going through horrible things and still being strong, together, dependable people.
Yeah, she lacks positive representation of coping mechanisms of
yes,
she lacks seeing people who have developed positive coping mechanisms, because I mean it's Nicole not being that's a common trauma thing. It's your brain trying to protect yourself, and we see her cope with other stuff. We see her cope with the awful things she has to see as a cop. We see a lot of that. So yeah, you're right. Waverly is the only person. Nicole is the only person Waverly has in her life. He was it's just is that person. Because everybody, I mean, Wynonna's drunk all the time. Her mother ran off.
Yeah, I love Wynonna, but the show is not painting Wynonna as an example of how to deal.
No.
You know what I mean? And that's another thing that I love about the show. They're, showing that, sometimes you can make not great choices, or, sometimes, you can be the hero and not be perfect. That's Wynonna. Yeah. That's who she is. So they definitely give her the space to do that. But, in so doing, they have to show weakness. They have to show Wynonna kind of crack every now and then. You know what I mean? And we saw it in this episode. We saw it right there in the beginning. And I think that's a wonderful thing to do, because your heroes don't have to be perfect. I love that. Right. But, yeah, as a result, I think Waverly lacks those examples.
Mm-hmm. So complicated.
And her little O, when she finds out that there's no burial plot reserved for her...
Oh, gosh.
I was devastated. Oh, my God. She can't live as an Earp. She can't die as an Earp as far as Ward is concerned. It's Catherine, I'm holding my own face talking to you about this. It's the last thing that her fear of inadequacy needed. The last thing.
But I love so much Wynonna's role in making that better. I love so much Wynonna looking at her and going, neither of us are going in the family plot. Have you looked at it? The high school's right there. We're not doing that. We're going to live to be 80, and we're going to be buried on the homestead. And I love that. It's also, I feel like, one of the quickest resolutions we have had to Waverly feeling like she's not, like Waverly's feelings about not being an Earp. It's the quickest resolution I think we've had to one of those things, where it's she gets told she doesn't get that's fine. Yeah. Wynonna's okay, we're not going to get buried there anyway. So I like that too.
I did too, and I think it's I think it also shows peace being made with it. You know what I mean? We don't know what you are. We know you're not an Earp, and I don't care because you're still my sister, and you're still an Earp to me. Mm-hmm. And so I think that in resolving it so quickly, we're also seeing it, that I think we're also being shown that no matter how this shakes out, and no matter what or who Waverly is, she's still Waverly Earp to Wynonna. And
I mean, we know that. We knew that in the finale of season 2.
Yeah.
When it was it's, Wynonna's not going to be oh, you don't get that last name? Book it. Or you get that last name but you haven't deserved it, or whatever. Wynonna's not going to be that person.
Yeah.
Especially to, the person that she loves the most in the world, or her favorite person in the world, whatever she said. I've got it in my quotes, but I don't feel like pulling it up right now. And I like that whole moment, Wynonna being don't ask if Nicole can come, and then Waverly just being Nicole wants to be eaten by vultures and pooped out.
It was one of the best moments in the entire episode for me, right there in the beginning, when Nicole and Waverly are choosing the casket, and Nicole sort of stares the patriarchy in the face and kisses her girlfriend's hand. But I really like, I really liked, how can I put this? I'm going to sound crazy no matter what.
You always do, it's fine.
I know. I can't knock Nicole's burial plan because I've already made my brother and my best friend promise to render me chum and feed me to sharks when I die. So, like, I kind of get it.
That is really, 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 really morbid.
I know.
Why don't you have yourself turned into a coral reef? You can do that. Or a tree.
Because sharks don't eat trees or coral reefs.
I'm just saying.
How is that that's not a solution.
I'm just saying. I mean, because like, really sit with that and think about what you're asking somebody to do.
Yeah. That's the only thing that gives me pause is that it's probably slightly unfair to my brother and my best friend.
Just slightly. Don't you worry. It's just slightly unfair.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I think it was a friend of mine who was like, I don't want to be a tree. Like, okay. I haven't thought about mine. Well, I have. Also, side note, it's important to have these conversations with your friends, people, and your family, and all your loved ones. Have your stuff written down. You could do it fairly easily. Have your wishes written down, because you don't know what can happen, and this conversation is sucky to have, and it's awkward, and nobody wants to talk about death, but here's your PSA for the episode. Have those conversations with the people that you love.
Also, that's also partly what the episode was about.
Yeah.
Everybody was running around. Nobody knew what dolls would want. You know, we get that moment between Doc and Wynonna where she's like, did you know he was from Arizona? And he's like, what? Should we take him to Arizona? You know what I mean? Like, so that's also part of what the episode is telling you.
Yeah.
You know, make your wishes known to the people that love you and to the people that you love.
Yeah. I mean, nobody wants, like, it's an uncomfortable conversation, but it's also one that's necessary, and it doesn't matter how old you are. You know, have those conversations because it really makes things easier.
Yeah.
Especially, like, nothing is worse than sitting somewhere and going, this is not what this person would have wanted.
Or just the fear that it's not what they wanted. Yeah.
But make sure you write it down, because I think I've literally had the conversation with my mother like 3 or 4 times, and I can't remember what she wants. So, make sure you write it down.
Yeah.
My dad is easy, because his family members have all been cremated and their ashes have all been scattered in, like, the same spot. So, I think I might have an aunt who hasn't been scattered yet, but that is neither here nor there.
I'll settle for cremation if I can't be fed to sharks.
Okay. You might want to tell your brother that.
Well, I also just recorded it on a podcast, so I feel like I'm covered.
Everybody
I don't know that he listens. Refer to this episode. You can direct him there. Like, hey, I'm really sorry about your sister. By the way, you need to listen to 303.
Yeah, put a note here. Or just put it in a folder.
She had a plan B.
Put it in a folder marked "When I Die" and just have it there to listen.
Man. Gosh, this got so dark. It's my fault. I'm sorry, you guys.
It's an episode about a character dying. It's gonna get dark.
I didn't get many body parts in this episode, and so then I decided
you have to make your own.
Talk about making myself, chum for sharks.
We got a little Dexter up in this bitch.
Oh my god, yeah.
Maybe he would have been more successful a few times. Maybe he wouldn't have gotten caught those couple of times. Anyway.
Worst series finale of any show. Okay, yeah.
Oh, I hated that fucking finale.
It was the worst.
It was. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about
I'm back.
Mm-hmm. We're both back. We're fine. Grief. Mm-hmm. Death.
Yep.
Oh, that was another kind of small thing I liked. You know how I like the small things. I really like the scene when they were talking about the wake and kind of trying to figure out what to do. And the setup at the table there, you know, you've got Nicole and Doc and Waverly kind of all in one spot. Like one area, I mean, it's one big room, but you can tell it's kind of sectioned out where you've got kind of the dining area and the family room area. And I like that Wynonna, like, you know, because she's been avoiding all of this. And, you know, she's very much separated from the group. Like, she's part of the conversation, but not part of the conversation.
Right.
So I did like that.
Yeah, she's putting physical distance between them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, she doesn't speak up until Doc leaves, and Wynonna looks to Nicole and says, "What do we do?"
Yeah.
So I did kind of like that. I just sometimes, you know, every so often I like to point out blocking and editing. So I like that's, you know, set up there. Oh, since you brought up Nedley, I did like his scene with Wynonna.
It's one of my favorite moments too.
I love that he, you know, he didn't have to be asked to sit down there with that body. He did it because he was doing what he knew he could do, you know, and what he knew he needed to do. And I love that moment. I love Nedley so much. And I like his kind of, you know, you need to be at his, you know, kind of gently prodding Wynonna, you need to be at the wake, you know, he'll be here when you make that decision.
Yeah. And he's like building her up and then also kind of giving her that push in the direction that they both know she needs to go.
Yeah. So I liked that moment.
You know, for a little moment, I also really liked Doc and Waverly, like, trying to sneak up on Kate.
Oh my gosh.
At the old Gardner house. Yeah, and she was like, just come in already. I thought that was so funny.
I love that so much. Like, they're being so, like, they're trying so hard to be sneaky, and they didn't roll high enough for stealth, no. Cause she's just sitting at the table with her cards out, just expecting them. She knows they're gonna come by. So, it was so great. And, yeah, I mean, a lot of Kate's scenes were just, I really enjoyed them. I like her so far as a character.
Yeah, me too.
But, yeah, and even when she gets inside, like, Waverly just like, trying to flip the table and then getting annoyed and then just scattering the cards.
Yeah.
It made me laugh so hard. But yeah, I love that moment. Another kind of small moment, because, you know, like, after Nicole tells Wynonna off for, like, because it starts with, "This isn't for you," with that beer. Mm-hmm. And then Wynonna grabs it when she goes to talk to Jeremy. And I just like how she's got it with her when she walks into the damn sheriff's station.
With an open beer, in a mug.
Yeah, I mean, with this mug of beer that she drank most of, and I loved just her, like, standing there, you know, beer and Peacemaker, because that was kind of, I mean, she spent most of this episode holding alcohol of some sort. She was holding a bottle or a cup most of this episode. Oh, and we glossed over this, but I think I forgot to mention it. I did appreciate that we did have that moment where Wynonna told Quinn that she trusts Jeremy in front of Jeremy. Mm-hmm. Because he kind of, after the, you know, Jeremy had a very bad day, so I did appreciate that, you know, kind of having that, well, I do trust him in front of him, so I like that.
I kind of, part of me also appreciated that we actually hear Wynonna say in this episode that she doesn't know what happened on that ledge. Like, she doesn't know how dolls died. I don't understand the mechanics of that either, and I know I'm not alone there. So it was good that the show acknowledged that. You know what I mean? Like, I was glad to actually hear it said by our leading lady.
I mean, because it's a lot of, like, oh, it was the drugs, It's like, okay, did his heart stop because he was, like, working it too hard? Is that what happened? Like...
Right, yeah.
And it was just one big, like, expending too much strain on his body? I don't know.
Yeah, she also says, you know, like, they're having that Arizona conversation, you know? Yeah. And Wynonna says that this is the family that dolls chose. So they're like, they're going to keep him there with them. And I thought that was really lovely.
I mean, what queer person doesn't like a chosen family?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I like that moment. I mean, because they're a wildly dysfunctional family, but, I mean, that's what they are. So, I like that. Oh, Doc finding out that Wyatt kept looking for him.
Yeah.
I like that, too. Just because, it's like, when Constance, when he got popped in the well, it was like, oh, Wyatt'll never know what happened to you and stuff like that. Like, there was like stuff like that. And it's like, it's nice that Wyatt kept looking and that Doc found that out and that like, he didn't know that up until that point.
Right.
But I like how, I mean, apparently Wyatt spent thousands of dollars and hunted, and hired trackers and stuff like that. But I think he needed he deserved a refund because Doc was in a well. Like, he wasn't. He shouldn't have been that hard to find, but...
Yeah, he was pretty stationary.
Yeah, so I think somebody needs to be reimbursed there. Oh, I have a piggybacking thought to the one I had last week about Rosita.
Uh-huh. Are you gonna upset me? Okay.
Yeah, I am.
Alright.
How would the Revenants have known about the serum except for one person?
Ah! Catherine, why do you do this? Why do you do this to me?
In my defense, it's not like I wrote this nonsense. I'm just talking about it.
No.
I'm telling you, they're lining her up. It's good.
Remember when we were all friends?
Ouch!
Because I do. Man. I just want Rosita to be back and be friends. Is that so wrong?
Wynonna messed that up. That was all Wynonna, treating Rosita like crap.
Man.
I'm sorry. I knew the second I put it in my notes that you were going to get mad at me.
I am. Now we're in a fight. No,
That's awkward.
It looked to me like they cremated dolls and they buried the ashes. Is that what it looked like to you?
Oh yeah, that's what they did.
Okay, good. That's what I thought. I was really hoping that was the case because there was all of that black badge talk that like they were going to come for the body. And that is not something that we need. No one needs that. So I'm really glad that like that's what they did. And I hope that I hope that Dolls is protected from all of that now. I thought, and it was a beautiful scene. It was beautiful to see the scarf and the mug and everyone getting a moment to honor Dolls. I do wish Wynonna had kept hold of that necklace because I think she needs it a little more than he does, and I hope that's not the last I see of the necklace because I think the necklace means something, but...
I'm honestly surprised it took you this long to mention it, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I was a little upset because I was like, what, is she just going to leave the necklace there?
I know, I thought
I was a little heartbroken about that, but I do like that she's leaving it there to, like, watch over Dolls, so it's like it's protecting him. But, yeah, that was... Once, I think, I was even tweeting from the MYP Twitter when that happened, when they started talking about Black Badge coming back for the body. I was like... I was so upset. I was like, if that happens, I swear to God. But, yeah, I'm really glad that they cremated him so he can't be messed with anymore.
Yeah, I do have to... I mean... One of the things that Quinn said was, there's a reason, my friends' graves are unmarked. And what do these chuckleheads do? They bury him with a gravestone that has his name on it.
True.
And it's like, I don't know, I've watched, one too many, Bones or CSI or something, where it's like, I don't firmly believe that if Black Badge did get the ashes, they couldn't do anything with it. I feel like maybe they could still go after his ashes.
I really hope they don't do that.
I know. I'm just on a roll with upsetting you right now, I think.
Yeah, thank you for giving me cause to worry about that. I was just relieved for like 2 seconds.
I'm sorry. Somebody has to.
Kevin.
But no, I mean, like, they put his name on it, and I feel like that's gonna bite them in the ass somehow. I'm worried about the fact that they put his name on it. And I mean, he deserves to have a gravestone with his name on it. Nobody deserves to be in an unmarked grave. You know, well, okay.
Backtracking on that one, are we?
I know. A man like Dulles doesn't deserve to be
there you go.
in an unmarked grave. I know, I said it, and I was like, hold up. I know what I meant, but no, I mean, so, like, I get it, but also, like, there's some legitimate concerns, so there's a part of me that's, like, not convinced that that's okay.
I hope.
And even if it's one of those situations where we end an episode with, like, the grave disturbed, I'm like, it would not surprise me.
I would be really upset about that.
I would be too. Upset, yes. Surprised, not necessarily.
I see.
So. Now, what other things can I upset you with?
Hopefully nothing.
I did think it was interesting, Kate's offer to tell Doc where Dulles is. There's a part of me that's very curious about what her answer would be.
Yeah. I'm wondering how much she can see. And why, how.
And I guess since we're talking about seeing, I warned you that I was going to ask you about this.
You did. You gave me ample warning.
So, we got a lot of tarot cards in this episode.
We did.
Hit me, Lara.
Okay, so, alright, so here's the deal, you guys. I've got quite a bit about the tarot cards for you this episode, and I'm going to try to get through it really quickly, but just a small disclaimer, I'm not an expert on tarot. I have an interest in it, like I have an interest in astrology. I have my own deck, but I don't give readings, I don't do any kind of consultation or anything like that, so this is just kind of a little bit about the tarot that we saw in this episode, and to kind of give you a little bit of reference in case tarot is not an interest of yours. So the first thing that I want to, kind of get out of the way is that the tarot cards are divided into major and minor arcana. And the major arcana are what most people would call like the picture cards or the face cards, and that's primarily what we've been seeing. The Lovers, Temperance, the Hermit, the High Priestess, all of those are major arcana. There are 22 of them in a tarot deck. There are 78 cards in a tarot deck. So the rest of those 78, yeah, it's huge. The rest of those 78 are the minor arcana. And that's where you get wands, cups, pentacles, and swords. So there's a little bit for you right off the top. When we first started seeing tarot cards in episodes 1 and 2, I really thought that they were just imagery. Like, we see Doc consulting the cards, and he pulls the Lover's card, and then Wynonna walks in. That's, so convenient, right? So I thought that was the long and the short of it, and I kind of dismissed it. I figured how it was going to work on this show was you're going to pull a card, camera's going to pan to the card, and a corresponding person walks through the door. Or it's a precursor to an event that immediately follows, which means you need no interpretation, because whatever's going to happen is immediately going to happen.
Right.
But Kate changed all that. She changed it in 1 second. And I'm going to explain that. First, I'm going to say I love tarot cards for Kate, because the real common law wife of Doc Holliday, Big Nose Kate, was born in 1850, and she died in 1940, which means that for most of her life, spiritualism was extremely fashionable. And spiritualism wasn't quite the catch-all term that we know and use today. Like, it wasn't simply a term for people who believe in a higher power but do not believe in organized religion, which is kind of how spiritualism, the term gets used today. In Kate's day, it was a religious movement based on the belief that the spirits of the dead exist and that they have both the ability and the desire to communicate with the living. So people used mediums for this. They used psychics, divination, automatic writing, or cartomancy, the reading of cards, right? And spiritualism, the religious movement, began in 1840, like just 10 years before Kate was born, and then it endured for most of her life. It started to trail off in popularity, like I said, in the 1920s. So for most of Kate's life, and most of Doc's for that matter, given we just now saw him messing with cards and we haven't really seen it before, but for most of their life, spiritualism was in, especially in English-speaking countries. It was, the religion du jour, and it's entirely plausible that they had their cards read, or they could read cards and did read cards. It's conceivable that they were probably invited to more than one seance in their lifetime. So historically, it makes a lot of sense, and I think that is really exciting. But to focus back on Kate, so Kate, the character, changed my opinion that these tarot cards were being used as more than just interesting visuals. And the reason for that is when we see Kate at Shorty's, it's the first time that we see cards from the minor arcana. And if you're going for interesting visuals, it's tempting to stick with just the major arcana, like Temperance and the Fool and the World and Death and the Tower and all those things, because they're very vivid pictures, and they're better for drawing a reaction. You know what I mean? But the minor arcana also tell you things, also, inform whatever question you're asking the cards. And I should probably make that point too. Tarot, it works a little bit differently than how it's precisely being shown in this show. For one thing, you can do all kinds of layouts where you lay the cards out in a certain pattern. And Kate seems to be doing a very straightforward sort of draw, which is fine. But it also matters what question she's asking the tarot deck. And I can't give you anything on that. I don't know. But the first card that she pulls at Shorty's is the Hermit, right side up. And she says that symbolizes dolls. And I'll roll with that. I think that's fine. But the second card that she pulls is a 6 of discs, or pentacles in my deck. But the cool thing is, she says dolls, and then she pulls the Hermit, and you're like, fine, a face card. But they start talking about peace for heroes, and they start talking about rewards in the afterlife and stuff like that. And she pulls the 6 of discs, and that is a card that represents generosity, charity, giving, and prosperity. So it's almost like that card is speaking either about Dolls' reward in the afterlife, or about the way that he lived and the way that he sacrificed his life. Which I think you can kind of start to see my point here, that there's no way to tell by looking at that card. You actually have to look up the meaning. So I think that tarot's going to be a recurring thing this year, and that's really exciting for me. And the last card that she flips over during that reading is the 5 of Cups, for loss, regret, despair, and bereavement. And that's when she's saying that Wynonna loved dolls. So she's sort of seeing in the cards that that's what Wynonna's going through right now, which is really, really neat. And then I want to talk about Waverly. But do you have any questions so far that I can answer for you about tarot?
No. I just really wanted this. This is what I wanted.
Okay.
I just really wanted to let you go and set you free on this tarot deck.
All right. So this will kind of be the last little part of it. So I know everybody's freaking out right now because she pulled Temperance, which is the angel card for Waverly. And I know that the angel theory, like Waverly is an angel theory, is a beloved theory in this fandom, and I'm not here to prove or disprove that. I just want to tell you a little bit more about what that card actually means. So when Waverly walks in, and I had to pause this so many times to get all three, you guys, we're looking at, we get a total of 3 more cards from Kate. We get Temperance, the angel card, we get the High Priestess, and the Hanged Man. But Kate, again, like one more thing that kind of tells me that they're taking tarot pretty seriously this season, and we should too, is that Kate points out that Temperance is upside down. It's in the reversed position. And that's the other thing that you need to keep in mind about tarot, is that a tarot card means one thing when it's in an upright position. And when it's in a reversed position, or it's facing upside down, it means something totally different, or it means the exact opposite of what it means right side up. So Temperance, right side up, indicates balance in life, or in whatever area of your life you're kind of asking the cards about, or maybe you're asking the cards about a goal, like you're in pursuit of a goal. The Temperance card would represent harmony. It would stand to reason that you will have an easier time achieving that goal because you have struck a balance in your life, or something along those lines. But reversed or upside down indicates, imbalance, obviously, but also lack of long-term goals, headstrong or heedless nature. And it's typically, I think in Kate's deck, it is represented by a tiger. In most decks, including in mine, it's an angel or a woman dressed as an angel with 1 foot on the earth and then 1 foot dipping into the water, and then she's like mixing 2 cups. And that's the imagery that I'm used to. But, so I guess we can suppose that Kate was asking the cards a question that at least had to do with Waverly, but that's about as far as I can take it. What worries me is also that the Hanged Man was laid out in front of Kate, which suggests the need to, postpone decisions or actions. It usually means that the person indicated is indecisive or is in a point of their life where they need to stop and they need to consider their options before choosing an action or making a decision. So it's kind of like a hit the brakes sort of a thing. And then we saw the High Priestess, and the High Priestess is like this. She's wisdom, serenity, the subconscious, those are all things associated with the priestess. So here's my last kind of little thing about it. You can take this any way you want, you guys. The thing that makes me think that there are going to be maybe some clues or some hints thrown in to the tarot is, I think if they had only stuck with the major arcana and had only given you those face cards that are so easy to recognize, I would have kept brushing all of this aside. But because Kate tells us in this episode that the position of the card matters, and because she shows us the 6 of discs and the 5 of cups, minor arcana that are a little less recognizable, that's the reason that I think we really need to keep an eye on it this year. And also, to my original point, you could read that last spread with the Temperance card as Temperance is Waverly, the Hanged Man is Doc, and the High Priestess is Wynonna. You could chalk it all up to that and discard everything else, and and maybe it will work out fine. Maybe I'm wrong and there isn't anything else to be taken from this. And if that's the case, if this doesn't go any deeper, then that's what we were looking at with that last spread. We were looking at, the three main heroes. But again, it's the way that the ways that Kate was used this episode make me think that we're supposed to take a little more from it. And also, if anybody listening is familiar with tarot, and specifically, if you could tell me what deck Kate is using, that would really help me a lot, because I had to keep pausing my video because I didn't recognize the images. I use an older tarot deck, and so I had no idea what these images were, and it was kind of hard to read the print in some of them. And then, like, in the last shot, we see, right before her and Doc sleep together, we see the lovers again. And again, because I don't know what those cards look like, there was no way for me to make out any other card. So if you know the name of the tarot deck she's using, please just at me.
Thank you for all of that.
You're welcome.
The one notable, we don't know what card she picked up after Waverly left.
Yeah, that's true. It could have been the Hanged Man, I suppose. Oh, let me get you a little...
What? Waverly scattered the deck.
Yeah, that I watched that too, and again, keep in mind, I had done a lot of pausing. Yeah. Waverly actually, she had sort of spread it out in a river in front of her, and then she pulled those cards and she brought them closer to her, or she laid them out in a different spot. So what Waverly scattered were all of the other cards in the deck, which should mean that Kate had to have pulled one of the three cards I just mentioned.
Damn it. See, I was going to say, because I know one of the things, like, when you get a tarot reading, a lot of times whoever's doing it will have you shuffle the deck.
Yeah, get your energy
yourself.
on the cards. Yeah.
Right. So that's where I was thinking of it, like with Waverly scattering it and touching the deck, that could have affected what card was pulled too.
Oh, I love that. God, I wish they would have done it that way. They didn't, though.
But you apparently watched that scene significantly closer than I did.
I honestly don't know how many times I watched that scene. Yeah, I think out of everything, because, like, the Hanged Man... I think out of everything that was pulled, the most negative one was an upside-down Temperance. And Kate has a reaction afterwards. She looks at that card and she's very troubled, and she says, she's something, right? Mm-hmm. So I have a tiny problem with that, in that the Temperance card is actually no reason to react that way. Yeah. Even, like, if I told you, Catherine, you're imbalanced, like, you would be like, oh, you dick, but, like, you wouldn't be like...
I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have an oh, you dick reaction. I'm pretty sure I'd be like, that makes a lot of sense right now.
But you wouldn't be scared.
Right.
And whatever Kate saw, she was scared. And the cards that we just named are not actually frightening cards in tarot. Like, they could be not great news. The Hanged Man is telling you to pump your brakes, and the High Priestess is telling you to look within or listen within, and Temperance is telling you to strike a balance. None of that is fear-inducing. So when I first watched that scene, I had all of these ideas about, like, what card that could have been. Like, oh, that's the Death card, or that's the Devil, that's the Tower, which is the worst in my opinion, the Tower. And so, so I actually, like, played that back a few times, and that's just not how it went down. I really wanted it to be.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And that's everything you need to know about tarot for this week.
Thank you for nerding out about that.
You're welcome. My throat's dry now.
I'm sure it is.
I don't talk that much.
I know. I was just, like, sitting here like, damn, I get a break. I cannot wait, honestly, to get both of our audio files in to edit and just see that one block of text because or one block of audio because I always end up with it's like, it'll be mine or like, shh, and yours are kind of like a little bit more spread out. So believe me, I'm looking forward to going, yep.
There's tarot, yeah.
And believe me, I'd much rather listen to you talk when I edit than listen to me talk when I edit.
I feel the opposite way, so yeah.
What a surprise. So with that, I mean, I think I got a lot of my other notes down. So I guess, see, I said I was good and that we can move on to the tarot stuff, and then I forgot to mention one kind of big thing. I did want to note, I just wanted to mention again what the group puts down in Dolls' Grave. I think that we should probably even mention. We didn't really talk about that last scene much. So, just I wanted to throw out that, just noting.
I kind of skimmed, I skimmed part of it. I didn't name everything. Go ahead, yeah.
And I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie, I did not cry on my first watch of that scene. But damn it if I didn't tear up the other two.
Yeah, it was emotional.
I had to pick up a tissue. But no, I liked how they did that last scene at the gravesite. Wynonna placing the box and then, everybody putting something in and you kind of, like, how everybody reacts when they put, Nicole saluting, Doc putting down the bourbon, and he actually does a sign of the cross, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
So, and then Jeremy dropping in Dolls' mug. So, I'm glad Nedley gave that back. No, I like that, and I know I mentioned the gravestone, but I did like that it said, died with his boots on, and I kind of we glossed over this too, just Doc talking about what that meant, to die with your boots on.
Yeah.
And for those of you who didn't infer, or who didn't Google, it's just somebody dying while fighting or to die while actively, like, kind of in some action, basically. So, it's a gunslinger's dying in the middle of a fight or in the middle of some of their doing their duty, something like that. So I like that, and I forgot to mention that. But when I was looking through my notes, and I was like, oh wait, that's what this big one is. So yeah, that was pretty much what I had. If you want to move on to quotes, so
I do, and my favorite quote is, "You shot him right in the dick."
You shot him right in the dick, and that was really sweet. That was the best part of that line. That was really sweet.
maybe I just liked the Revenant getting shot in the dick. Maybe it was what actually happened and not the line. I don't know.
I like Dot when he first walks up to Wynonna when she's like target shooting. Finally planting your left foot, I see. And she's like more like stepped in a frozen cow patty and now I'm kind of stuck.
Yeah.
It made me laugh.
You already said sometimes you get and sometimes you get got. That was awesome.
I literally have that whole interaction typed out.
I know you do.
He says that. I know, from when he says that until he says it was never cheap about death being cheap.
Yeah.
So, Wynonna says death's cheap, so. You know me, I like to type out, I hate myself and like to type out big chunks of dialogue.
You do.
I already mentioned this one's quite a kick in the box.
Yeah. I actually really liked his line to Quinn when Quinn was first in Shorty's when he said, "You better have proof, friend, because I've got one in the chamber and murder on my mind."
Oh, I had that one down too. Yes. And when Nicole says, we had a professional kind of trust officers in the line of duty, and Waverly tries to get Wynonna to smile and being like, she said duty.
Yeah.
She sure did, cutie. And it's like, oh. Oh, and just, who is it? Some hot goth?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. You called her hot twice now.
And then, oh my god, this is the worst thing I've done since Champ.
Yep.
Our squad's less nicknamey, more, hey dingus, pass me some bullets.
Grief gives rise to much confession. Shakespeare, Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah. This is a memorial, dipshit. Did you even bring a casserole? It's just too real.
Well, it's purgatory. Last Halloween I saw 20 black cats, and I swear they were all wearing bow ties.
I almost put that one on my list, but I figured that you would have it on yours.
I love it.
Does anyone around here not have a secret wife?
I really liked, like, when Waverly gets the letter back, like, for Wynonna, and, you know, she, like, asks Kate if she opened it, and Kate says, of course not, I'm a vampire, not an asshole.
Yes. Yeah, I had that. Yeah, I just wanted an invitation. Well then, like a few selfies and slide into my DMs like a normal person. Yeah. That too. I also liked how she busted in there, was like, oh, are we doing introductions? Great. Hi, I'm Waverly Earp, and you're squatting on Gardner land, and you took something that belongs to my dead friend Dolls, which is shitty and tacky. I just love that.
And you want it back. And I want it back.
Oh. Quinn, what are you doing? Bad stuff with my good stapler. Do you have another one?
No, I'm out.
Oh my gosh. You almost had me beat, though.
Really?
I've only got one more.
Oh my gosh, I was close this time.
I know. And I just, you're my favorite person in the whole wide world, baby girl, and once we've defeated Bullshar, you're stuck with me forever. I love the Earp sisters.
Me too. It was beautiful.
Yeah. And that was all I had for quotes. I had a few random, like, I have questions things and stuff like that I didn't feel like mentioning, but somebody asked me, if you want to know, if you're curious about what I didn't mention, because I don't feel like being too nitpicky right now. But that about does me for everything everything major I had on my list.
Yeah, the tarot was a substantial part of mine, so I'm all wrapped up. Well
then, I guess we're wrapping it up. So like I said at the top of the episode, you can check out my recap. It's on the 4YE Twitter, which is at 4YE_MYP podcast. On the podcast Twitter, but you guys know what I meant. The 4YE Twitter is at 4_Y_E. You can follow both of those accounts to, for when they go up, but we tweet them out for both.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can find it, if you'd rather go to the site, you can find the site at 4ye.co.uk. You can find me on Twitter at cmeushaw, that's at CMEUSHAW. And Lara, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at RSMayfair.
Alrighty, thank you so much for listening, guys, and we will see you next week for hopefully what is a less emotional episode.
Thanks, guys.